A very good morning to all the esteemed professors and learned members of the IEEE, respected HODs, faculty members, and my fellow mates. I, Manya Srivastav of BTech Electronics and Communication Engineering, 5th semester, welcome you all to the third lecture of the technical lecture series organized from 18 September to September 26, 2021 by the IEEE student branch at Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow campus, under the supervised guidance of Dr. Kamlesh Kumar Singh Sir, Assistant Professor and Student Branch Counselor of IEEE, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow campus. In collaboration with the IEEE Young Professional Committee, UP Section, and IEEE BJKIT SBC's Dwarhat. This technical lecture series is being supported by IEEE Region 10 and IEEE Young Professionals Region 10. We also have with us Dr. Varun Kakkar Sir, Chair, IEEE Young Professionals Committee, UP Section. The lecture, titled Oxide Thin Film Transistors Theory and Applications, will be taken by Dr. Kavindra Kandpal Sir, Assistant Professor at the ECE Department of Triple IT Allahabad.
And our gratitude and indebtedness on behalf of the entire Amity University Lucknow campus for sparing your time and talking to our faculty and student on this very, very important and very interesting topic.
Thank you, sir.
We look forward to enhancing our scope of interaction in
Sure.
future.
Sure.
Sir,
Great.
with your permission, should we start?
Definitely we can start. It's really very nice. I'll be listening to the entire lecture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Manya, please start the session.
Yes, sir. A very good morning to all the esteemed professors and learned members. Dr. Kavindra Kanpal Sir, Senior Member IEEE. Wing Commander Dr. Anil Kumar Tiwari Sir, Pro Vice Chancellor, Head of Institution, Amity School of Engineering and Technology. Dr. O.P. Singh Sir, Head of Department, Electronics and Electrical Engineering, Amity University, Lucknow. Faculty members and my fellow mates. On behalf of the IEEE student branch at Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow campus, I, Manya Srivastav of BTech ECE, 5th semester, welcome you all to the technical lecture series organized under the supervised guidance of Dr. Kamlesh Kumar Singh Sir, Assistant Professor and Student Branch Counselor of IEEE, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow campus, supported by IEEE Region 10 and IEEE Young Professionals Region 10. The greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He is the one that gets people to do the greatest things. Our Assistant Pro Vice Chancellor, Head of Institution of Amity School of Engineering and Technology, Wing Commander Dr. Anil Kumar Tiwari Sir, is a seasoned academician, a source of constant inspiration. He is not only a visionary, but a mentor whose zeal and quest to understand the length and breadth of the vast ocean of knowledge keeps us motivated. May I request, sir, to enlighten us with his words of wisdom and welcome the gathering.
Commander sir, I think it's not audible.
Yes, sir.
Also, sir must be facing some technical issues. He has joined, but So on the behalf of Sir, I will be giving the vote of thanks. Once Sir join, then we will do the rest. So on the behalf of the IEEE MIT University Uttar Pradesh Lucknow campus, I welcome one and all present in this meeting. This is the third lecture in the series of technical lecture series, which is being organized by IEEE AUP Lucknow campus in collaboration with the IEEE Young Professionals UP section and IEEE BTKIT SBC Dwarhat. As Manya has said, that this lecture series is being sponsored by IEEE Region 10 and IEEE Young Professional Region 10. And we have this lecture series from 18th of September to 26th of September. The first lecture was on the topic machine learning method for brain-machine interface system by Dr. Sumit Suman from Ediction. The second lecture was conducted by Dr. Somak Bhattacharya from IIT BHU. He has delivered his talk on metasurfaces from basics to advanced application. And today we have Dr. Kavindra Kanpal from IIIT Allahabad to deliver his talk on oxide thin film transistor theory and application. Dr. Kanpal, we welcome you once again. I welcome all the faculty members from different engineering colleges, especially from ASSET, all the PhD scholars and students of BTech and MTech to this technical lecture series, and enjoy this lecture. And after this lecture, you can clear your doubts by the question and answer round. Over to you, Manya. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. IEEE AUP Lucknow Campus Student Branch, in collaboration with IEEE Young Professional Committee, UP Section, and IEEE BTKIT SBC, has organized a very insightful and beneficial technical lecture series supported by IEEE Region 10 and IEEE Young Professionals Region 10 from 18 September to 26 September 2021. Today is the third lecture on oxide thin film transistors, theory and applications by Dr. Kavindra Kanpal sir. To attain knowledge, add things every day. To attain wisdom, remove things every day. Dr. Kavindra Kanpal sir is a senior member of IEEE and has a teaching experience of more than 8 years. He received his BTech degree in Electronics and Communication Engineering from Kumaon Engineering College. He did his MTech degree in Microelectronics specialization from Indian Institute of Information and Technology, Allahabad. He was also awarded with Chancellor Gold Medal in the 7th convocation of IIIT Allahabad. He joined the EC department of IIIT as an assistant professor in 2019. He completed his PhD program in IEEE Department of BITS Pilani in the area of oxide-based thin film transistors. Apart from his interest in semiconductor devices, he also possesses strong analog, digital circuit design and layout design skills. Currently, he is actively working in solid-state application of topological insulators, device-to-circuit integrated design with applications and ranging from display electronics. He has more than 40 research publications in peer-reviewed journals and international conferences. In his lecture today on oxide thin film transistors, Sir will be talking about oxide semiconductors that are used for TFT applications such as pixel driving and switching circuits in active matrix display panels. This talk has an emphasis on application of oxide semiconductors for thin film transistors. Sir will also be talking about device operation, threshold voltage instability, and device modeling. I would like Sir to start with his talk.
Thank you, Manya, and thank you, the organizer, Dr. K.K. Singh, and all the associated faculty members of MIT University, as well as from BTK student branch. Well, hope I am audible to all of you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I will be sharing my screen. So
Yeah, please share it.
hope it is visible now.
Yes, sir. It is visible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please
So
display in the screen, full screen mode.
yes, I will be displaying it in full screen mode. And one more thing, once I display it in full screen mode, I cannot see the audience. I cannot see the chat box. So let me know if you have any doubts. You need to interrupt me. Okay. So just unmute your mic and ask me the question if in case you have any doubts. So
Paul has got disconnected. He will be joining very soon.
looks like there was some connection problem. Right. So I'm sharing it again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, please. It is visible,
So
sir.
is it visible? Yeah. And
Yes, sir.
so I will
Yes, sir.
start with in oxide thin film
Yes, please.
transistors and application. And I hope you can see the cursor here, the arrow symbol, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is visible, sir. Please.
In case I become disconnected, then please call me in my mobile phone. In that case,
Right.
so well, the brief outline of this particular talk is basically I will start with the introducing you the oxide TFTs. I will talk about a bit about the TFT technology, how exactly all it started, and what are the key challenges we do face in the TFT technologies. We'll discuss a bit of the devices. Will not go in deep. Rather, I will give you the flavor. If you are aware with the MOS theory, then what exactly you need to do in order to analyze the oxide TFTs. Then we will talk about their applications by like how exactly they are used in the pixel driver circuitry. So before you use for go for pixel driver circuitry, then you need to first do the device to circuit integration. So either you need to adapt the SPICE model or you need to write the Verilog model. Then I will be talking about some work which our group have done in recent time, and then the session will be open for question and answer. So well, so I hope this figure is visible. So you can see this thin film transistors in general are basically nothing but a field effect transistor only. The same principle basically relies as in the case of FET. So FET, what you do, you basically if there is a semiconductor and you have two contacts here, one at the rightmost and one at the leftmost part, and what you do is basically you take a third contact which is not connected electrically with, which is not connected physically with the semiconductor, but if you apply a voltage on this third terminal, then you can change the conductivity of the underlying the semiconducting layer. So that is the principle of field effect transistor, where the conductivity of a semiconductor can be controlled by the third terminal, which is technically not connected, but electrically it is basically connecting it, right? So that way, so I can see the evolution itself started from the 1930 from the Lilienfeld patent, where he demonstrated a compound semiconductor whose resistivity was changed when he applied the potential at the third terminal. So the same fundamental principle is used in the thin film transistor as of your MOSFET. So you can see a bit difference in the structure here. You can see I'm using a gate electrode here, definitely. So gate electrode will be patterned like this. So this will be my gate electrode. You can need to pattern it between the channel. Okay. So this is a gate dielectric. There is a channel material, and here you are defining source and drain. So this is a bottom gate TFT technology. This is how you can define it. So the principle is the same. You will be applying some voltage. So if the channel material, either you can, if the source and drain and the channel material have the same nature, then you can work in the accumulation mode rather than being in inversion mode. So you can attract the carriers here, and then finally you can have a conduction between source and drain. Okay, based upon the voltage you are applying in the gate electrode. The typical application, as we said, is basically basically in the thin film transistors is basically in your screens. Screens include, for example, you have the mobile phones with you. So in mobile phone, whenever you purchase a new phone, maybe any Samsung phone, anything, you must be hearing that it is the AMOLED display, active matrix OLED, right? You know these OLEDs, organic LEDs, they cannot illuminate by itself. You need to provide the current, and the current is being provided by this transistor. The nature of this transistor is P. This is not an oxide TFT, because usually P-type TFTs are not available in oxide TFT, but I'm just telling you, for example, if it is a P-type TFT, then you will simply see that this terminal is going to be source, this is going to be drain, this is the gate, because in PMOS, the source terminal is closer to VDD, right? In PMOS. So you can clearly see that you are having one storage capacitance which is being applied between gate to source terminal. You have, this is a switching TFT. So based upon, once this particular transistor is on, this particular driver TFT, I will call it the driver TFT, thin film transistor, and this is my switching TFT, right? So once the scan line gives the proper signal, and this particular, and you have proper voltage here, this particular driver TFT will be activated, and it will provide the current in to OLED. So this is a basic fundamental principle. So what you want, you don't want that. You can see, you can visualize like this screen having lots of pixels, and each pixels are having OLEDs, not of only single color. You can have the RGB colors, because from the RGB you can generate every kind of colors, right? By selecting, by tuning their intensity, you can match it in such a way that you can generate all the colors. So driving TFT, the amount of the current going here will control the intensity, OLED. The amount of the current which is flowing through the OLED will control the intensity. That way you mix the color, and then you basically make this gray. I'm not going in detail right now, but slowly we will build up. Some of the key demonstration you can see from the very early stage. For example, when we talk about TFT application, especially oxide TFT now. Okay, oxide TFT, for example, the most relevant material is the ZNO, zinc oxide, whose band gap is somewhere 3.4 electron volt. Okay, so this band gap makes it transparent in visible spectrum. Since it is transparent in visible spectrum, what will happen? You can have a totally transparent electronics possible. Totally transparent electronics possible. In fact, if you read Nikkei Asia, one of the Japanese magazine, they predicted somewhere close to end of this particular century, you will find it out. Your entire gadgets are getting transparent. In fact, not only the screens, because screens anywhere you are using the thin film transistors array, but you can also have entire microprocessor being designed in the same TFT technology. I will not right now compare the TFT technology with the CMOS technology, because TFT technology solve your purpose in terms of cheaper electronics, whereas the other thing, the other part is basically I would say MOS electronics basically they uses for integrated chips for nowadays, and they are very advanced technology for now. Hope I am audible so far.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Very much audible.
Okay, so here you can see one of the experiment here from Fortunato and their group. So they are basically, this is nothing but a 7-segment display where this is somewhere here they have the signal conditioning, like they made the Juggernaut TFT based circuits which were almost 75% transparent. 75% transparent, and you can see based upon the controlling circuitry they are able to control the 7-segment display, which is again coated over the flexible substrate. Another demonstration by Nomura and their group, you can see they have again demonstrated one TFT array being fabricated on a flexible substrate. So anyway, we will be discussing those things. So see, these things can simply tell you the potential, and nowadays everyone is talking about the flexible electronics, and most of the time most of the medical ads with what we wear or the smart bands what we wear, they are based upon the flexible electronics. But for now, maybe in some cases you will find it out they are mounting the discrete component, and then they are basically doing they are basically making up, but they're realizing a particular application. But slowly you will find it out everything is on the plastic substrate. You cannot even in fact see that will be totally transparent, but it will be solving a certain purpose. When we comes to thin film transistor technology, I would say following are the key parameter, which includes on to off current, threshold voltage, sub-threshold slope, mobility. So these parameters are very common as you have in the TFT or in the MOSFET. MOSFET also, if you buy a MOSFET and look at the data sheet, you basically look for this parameter, that what is its on to off ratio. Typically you want this on to off ratio to be high, okay, somewhere of the order of 10 to the power 7, 10 to the power 6, that is good. VT based upon the application, whether you are going for the low power or low power application, or you are going for the high speed application, that way you need a different value of VT. Okay, sub-threshold slope in a conventional CMOS technology could be as good as 60 millivolt per decade. This is the best figure you will get in the conventional CMOS technology, and it means that from going on to off, or for a decade change in the current, if you are changing the current by a decade, you need to apply 60 millivolt of the gate voltage. Okay, so if I say if I want to change the current order by a decade, but I'm applying 1 volt, so that is basically not a very good device. If you are having 1 volt per decade sub-threshold slope, you want it to be as less as possible. Up to 60 millivolt per decade you get in the conventional CMOS devices. Beyond, if you want to go even lesser, you have to go with some non-conventional devices like tunnel FETs and other. Okay, so what we are expecting, if I am designing a thin film transistor, I would like to have my sub-threshold slope as close to 60 millivolt per decade, because if it is so, then the on to off or off to on switching will be very fast. Okay, you can use fastly turn it on or fastly turn it off. Another key factor which basically drives nowadays is the mobility. I would say it's a very big factor. Specifically, you might have seen from the once the CRT screens were totally replaced, then lots of different screen came. For example, there was VGA, video graphic array, then there was simple SD display, SD2 you went to Ultra SD. Okay, now there's a concept of 4K SD, right? So as you go higher to higher displays, then you will find it out that the refresh rate is very high. The refresh rate is getting very high. The number of the frame per second, you might have started from 30 frames per second of your the images, so that it gets realized as a videos, right? But now you are going up to 120 frame per second. So here, in order to accommodate all these things, you need a higher mobility. That is a very key challenge in nowadays in the TFT technology, because the demand of 4K SD and other things are increasing. So anyway, these things are there. I will be showing it again later on. So here our typical example, you can see this is the gate to source voltage and this is the IDS. So you can see this is ID versus VG plot. Technically it should be in square shape, but what I have done is basically I've kept this ID in the logarithmic ranges. You can see there is a change of a decade of current. So this is technically you are plotting log ID versus VG, and when you plot log ID versus VG, then you will find out a linear region. That particular linear region is known as sub-threshold region, because that region comes when VGS is less than VT. Okay, that time the current is not zero. Most of the students who might be of first degree or say or MTech, they might be a bit aware that though we say that for VGS less than VT there is no current, for less than this voltage you don't have the current, but it never happens so abruptly. There is always some current, and most of the time if you go with the MOSFET technology you will find it out, though there is, you are not applying any gate voltage, but still there is a potential difference exists between drain and source, which creates a diffusion, and due to the diffusion you have the subthreshold conduction. So that is a totally different story. But and similarly here in accumulation mode transistors, there is a current due to the thermodynamic emission of the carriers. So we'll be talking it in detail later on. But subthreshold region of the conduction you cannot ignore when you are talking about the advanced devices, because they contribute to the leakage. Okay, and the quadratic region, you have two kind. Quadratic region includes both linear as well as saturation region. That you can say is the quadratic region. Okay, and one more thing is very important is that when the VGS is 0, means when at the gate of the thin film transistor you are not applying any voltage. When you are applying a 0 volt, technically you are expecting this current to be 0, but it never happens. You can see at VGS equal to 0, you can see this is the current you are getting. So that is the 10 to power minus 10, of the order of 10 to power minus 10. So it says that the leak when your display is, you are not using your phone, for example, so it got activated because it has the sensors. So let's say if I am not using it and my display is black, right? At this mode you might be thinking that your battery will not drain. It will drain because it is basically taking 10 to power minus 10 ampere current. Right, every pixel is taking, every TFT is taking 10 to power minus 10 ampere current. Let's say VDD they are using is 1 volt. So 1 volt into 10 to power minus 10 ampere into number of TFTs whatever you have, that will be your standby power consumption by the display only. Then mobile phone doesn't only have the displays, it has lots of circuitry in which includes LNA, it includes microprocessor or small whatever the processor you have, the Qualcomm Snapdragon or anything. So all do dissipate in at a standby operation, right? So the technique, that is why even your phone is in idle mode, it is in fact switch off, still you can find it out that it is draining the battery. Okay, so these are the performance parameter. Coming up back to TFT evolution, I'm going up to 2003, telling you about in general the TFT evolutions, and then after 2003 I will be talking mostly towards the oxide TFTs. So you can see we started, TFTs are nothing but different but field effect transistors. So very first the idea of the field effect transistors was proposed by the Lilienfeld in his patent, right, where I told you he put a semiconductor, let's say semiconductor has two A and B, he was measuring its IV characteristic, okay, he was measuring the current versus voltage characteristic. Let me put it here, this is the voltage, this is the current. Then he could, let's say, find it out some characteristic like this, but when he applied a third electrode here, and he was applying a voltage here, and technically this semiconducting layer, this was a compound semiconductor he used. What he find it out, he was applying a voltage through a aluminum foil, AL foil, and it was not connected here. But he was applying a voltage. Then he could see that the conductivity of this film was changing. If he applied the voltage, then what is happening? The conductivity was increasing. In fact, so he can see there is a clear change in the conductivity. So that basically gives him the idea about that, yes, if it is a semiconductor, if you are having a semiconductor, and you can basically modulate its conductivity from the third terminal, that is the gate, right? So he gave the concept, but you know that though the concept was available from 1930, but it was the BJTs who came first, right? Bipolar junction transistor, because the Shockley and their group, they went with the fabrication of the FAT only, but accidentally they fabricated they realized the BJT structure, and this they all later on they told that particular thing as a creative failure, right? Because though they wanted to achieve something good, but they ultimately achieved something good. So it is a kind of creative failure. If you try, then definitely there will be something concrete will come out, maybe a bit different from the goal. But slowly when the technology evolved and you have more refined process, the people demonstrated the MOSFET structure. For example, you can see in close to 1960, you do have the MOSFET, and that is the time they have there was that was the time when people were also exploring the material. Neither the silicon was a choice, neither the germanium, not the germanium. Yes, germanium was popular at that particular time, but silicon was not at all popular at very early stage of the technology. So that time they were looking at the different semiconductor material, and one of those material was the CDS. So the first TFT was demonstrated using the CDS semiconductor, but slowly, if you go with the journey of the TFTs, you can see then there is tin oxide SnO2. It was the first demonstration. ZNO TFT was first demonstrated in 1968, but you know, all these things basically lost the pace. They lost the pace because that was the time when the silicon technology was evolving. That was the time when the silicon technology was evolving, and the silicon has replaced all the different. In fact, silicon has replaced the germanium that particular time. Initially, the first microprocessor was designed on the germanium, but slowly silicon replaced the germanium as well, and similarly people find it is available in abundance. Slowly they developed the foundry and everything based upon the silicon, and they could figure it out that in large scales they are able to find out very refined performance for the silicon. So the attention ultimately diverted towards the silicon. But and you know that close to, I do remember, like when we were growing up, during our childhood, like it used to be the CRT TVs in our home, cathode rays tubes, right? We call it CRT screens. So CRT screens takes lots of power. If you have a CRT screen, CRT monitor is still with you, you can see you have to give a good power. Its adapter will be like you need to maybe connect it to the mains, right? They takes a lot of power. Up to 2003 or 2004, it was a prestige to have if you have a color TV in your home, you will be defined, and you are watching the Ramayana, you will find it out, although your family member or the otherwise people will come to your home, and they will also see the serials or something. But now, suddenly what happened, the CRT took a lot of time. Like it was like CRT screen has a huge market till that. But suddenly there were so many technology came, plasma TV and LCD TVs came. But suddenly within a span of 10 years, the LED TV becomes common, because the viewing angle you can also see it from the a corner from your home and everything. Slowly everything was LED. They were consuming less power. They were giving you brightest of the screen possible. They were lighter. They were easily wall mounted possible. You can always mount it in the wall, so they were not taking much of the space. So that way it helped. But it all happened in, I would say, last 2 decades. Within last 2 decades, it was not before. Before, the entire attention was the CRTs, right? So that is where somewhere in the last contemporary to TV technologies, you can also see in 2003. It was those concept of ZNO TFT came people used Boson and Jacobs, they made the ZNO TFT demonstrated first. But this generation of ZNO TFT was totally different from this generation, because at this generation you are having the refined technology available. So again here they were able to show totally like almost 75% transparent ZNO TFT. So once you have a transistor, you know, transistors, you can realize any kind of functionality. Whether you want to make a digital circuit, you can make. Whether you want to make a microprocessor, you can make, because transistor is on the backbone of all the different kind of hardware, whatever you have. So having realized a transistor means you can think of making it in a larger scale. You can have a concept in your mind what exactly you would like to make. You can go to bottom up. You can make a particular circuitry, you can make the layout, then you can fabricate, and then you can package, and then you can use it. So that is so somewhere 2003 they made the ZNO TFT, and that was the, I would say, the progress up to 2003. And after 2003, you can see the work from the R.L. Hoffman, who demonstrated this 75% almost transparent TFT. There are some key advancement. One key advancement was from the SHK Park, who again used this AMOLED panel like QVGA displays. He used the ZNO TFTs for in the AMOLED. Like AMOLED is basically, we call it active matrix. OLED, right? We call it active matrix OLED. So he used basically these thin film transistors in a 4-inch QVGA display. Okay. Then slowly in 2008, again there was concept of bottom gate ZNO TFT came. So technically, if you look from the MOSFET, you will find it out the transistor should be top gated only. Means MOSFET, you might have seen the gate comes at the top, right? So But 2008 there were different topologies of the TFTs were discovered, because you're not so technically you're depositing the layers here, you're not growing something. Like in planar technology like silicon technology, you're growing everything over it, right? So automatically just choice of the gate dielectric comes at the top. But here, since you are depositing the layer by layer, in fact you can have a substrate is not necessarily a silicon substrate, could be a plastic substrate, it could be Corning glass substrate. So either you can have the TFT deposit over a glass, or it can be deposited over plastic, or the pan or pad seeds, these polymer seeds. Okay, the flexible seeds you can have. So the cost of fabrication is very low. So they thought, why to always go with the top coat? Why don't we have a different topology? So they demonstrated bottom gate General TFT. In 2014, they were able to see high breakdown General TFT, and somewhere in 2016, in order to see what they found it out, General TFTs were primarily the accumulation mode TFTs, but conventional transistors are inversion mode. So they tried to demonstrate one inversion mode transistors, but it was having some sort of ambipolarity. I'm not going to discuss much, but I'm telling you that with the last decade, you can see there are lots of landmark achieved in the area of the General TFT technology or oxide TFT technology. Now, the very first question that you may be having is, what is the Jordano TFT? Why Jordano based oxide TFT, right? So first, it is basically intensively studied in the last 2 decades, I could say 2 decades, and it has a wide bandgap semiconductor. If it is a wide bandgap semiconductor, automatically it is transparent to our it is transparent to our spectrum of visible light. So it is totally transparent. It is a transparent material if you have a 3.4 electron volt band gap. So most importantly, I'm talking about the thin film transistor, which are basically made over plastic, made over glass. So you cannot process, for example, you might do remember that when you make the MOSFET in silicon technology, you can see you go up to like 1000 degrees centigrade or maybe more. When you do the dry oxidation and other kind of process, that's absolutely okay with the silicon, because the substrate is very costly. You start with the single crystal silicon, and you can have you can always have that kind of thermal budget available. But when you are fabricating or making a transistor over a plastic, you cannot in fact go beyond room temperature, right? So Jordano is something which can be deposited at the room temperature using RF spectrum. You can always deposit it at the room temperature. There are other technique also, sol gel and other kind of technique. You can have room temperature deposition possible. If the room temperature of deposition is possible, then you have wider range of the substrate. If you want, you can also fabricate in the silicon base. You can take silicon as a substrate, but it will be useless, because you are not going to, because if you are taking silicon as a substrate, then it is costly. Technically, you went with the TFT technology. The fundamental idea is that you could make a cheaper transistor which could be used in the application like display, where the high performance is not demanded. Here, the simple idea was a transistor which should be capable enough to provide the current to OLED, and this should be and the transistor which we can control whether which OLED we need to turn it on or which OLED we need to turn it off, right? So those kind of transistor we were needing. So we don't want to put lots of bucks there. What we wanted is basically a cheaper transistor which can complete the specific operation, right? For example, if I ask you make an adder, and in order to make an adder, it will be very worst idea. You are doing it from the microprocessor or microcontroller. You can always take 2 gates and can realize the functionality, right? So here the idea is that if my role is basically since to drive a display, then why to waste more? Why to invest more, right? So I would go for a transistor which could be defined on a plastic, which could be defined in the glass. Definitely, this particular transistor is not at all comparable with the transistor what you have in the silicon-based substrate, right? So they have a huge difference in terms of cost, in terms of performance, everything. But slowly, when you start with the technology, you started serving your purpose. Slowly, within the display, the demand has increased. You might see your mobile phone of 2003 generation, that those mobile phone will not be that much attractive in terms of screens. But nowadays, if you see the mobile phone, they are so bright. They have a very full HD AMOLED displays. So as you go with the higher and higher definitions, what happens? The quality of this transistor need to be improved. But at the same time, you will not go with the higher cost. So Jadano was one of those material which was providing you the same thing. It was transparent. You can deposit the Jadano based TFTs in fact on a flexible substrate as well, and definitely it is one of the very its variant. When I say Jadano, it means all kind of variants. Sometimes you will find it out Jadano based TFT doesn't mean only Jadano. It could be IG Jado as well, indium gallium dope Jadano. It could be AJDO where you are doping the Jadano with the aluminium. So there are different variant of that in order to increase its carrier concentration or mobility. There are different variants of the Jadano. Okay, so that is the fundamental reason why we are going with the Jadano based TFTs. But when I say the TFTs, was the Jadano based TFTs was the only choice? No, they were not only choice. When you start with the technology, then you might see the first TFT at the very beginning. The TFTs was amorphous hydrogenated silicon. Means they were the silicon based TFT. The only difference was silicon layer was deposited. It was not single crystal silicon. The nature of this deposited silicon was amorphous. Definitely, when I compare a mobility of amorphous silicon with single crystal silicon, there will be a huge difference. For example, amorphous silicon will give you a mobility of 1 to 2 centimeters square per volt second, while a single crystal silicon can give you 1480 centimeters square per volt second. 1480, almost I could say 1480 centimeters square per volt second. So there is a huge difference in their performance, but the amorphous silicon TFT are going to be much cheaper, right? So at the very beginning, these were the amorphous silicon TFTs. Slowly they started with the polysilicon TFT. You might have heard about these displays. Still nowadays we call it LTPS. LTPS stands for low temperature polysilicon. These displays are still for some few generation of Apple used LTPS TFTs, where you deposit the polysilicon with a low thermal budget on a flexible substrate on a glass sheet, and then you make the thin film transistors. These were the TFTs already available, but when you have a Jadano TFT, the fundamental advantage you get from the material is the transparency. Silicon band gap is always 1.12 electron volt. It is not transparent in the visible spectrum. It is not transparent. While Jadano TFT is transparent in the visible spectrum. So that gives you more appeal. Other thing is basically, even if you are depositing a polycrystalline silicon, the thermal budget is up to 500 degrees centigrade. Even if you are going with the polysilicon or something, your typical thermal budget is 500 degrees centigrade. Definitely, if you want to deposit it over a glass cheaper substrate, means glass substrate or plastic substrate, you cannot accommodate. You don't have this luxury of 500 degrees centigrade. Rather, you would like to deposit a material which can be deposited at room temperature, and Jadano can be deposited on room temperature. That is why Jadano based oxide TFTs are getting popular. Coming to what is more important, when we talk about TFT, you can clearly see from the structure of this structure that yes, you can clearly see the channel is basically Jadano based TFT now. It is a Jadano semiconductor. So here you see you have a gate electrode. Your substrate could be Corning glass. Let's say the substrate is glass or a pan or PAT substrate. Pan or PAT is going to be flexible substrate. Glass is basically Corning glass is definitely totally transparent glass substrate, a very rigid glass. And Corning glass, in fact, also you get in with your mobile phone. You might read these things. These glasses, these skins are very robust. Even it can take some sort of some sort of high pressure, like it can withstand up to a very high pressure. So it is a, let's say, glass. Over the glass you are putting the gate dielectric. In the conventional silicon based technology or MOSFET technology, the conventional gate dielectric is SiO2. Why SiO2? Because SiO2 is a native oxide of silicon, hence SiO2 has the very less number of the defects. But in our case, the gate dielectric selection is itself a challenge. What kind of gate dielectric you will select? You will select a gate dielectric which can give you least amount of interface state density, which can give you a least amount of DIT. Okay, very less amount of DIT at the interface between Jadano and gate dielectric. Because whenever you make a transistor, the most important thing is basically the interface. The interface need to be very pure, very clean, right? There should not be much of the dangling bonds, because if there is less DIT, then only you will find it out. If you apply a voltage, it will be able to modulate the carrier density underlying the channel material. So that is the one thing you need to find it out. So once you do the selections, you will identify there are lots of candidates for the gate dielectric. Okay, so based upon these properties, which can provide a good gate dielectric, good interface states, a less number of interface states. What should be the leakage is another criteria. You want that current to flow from source and drain. The current should flow from source or drain, while you don't want that current should be flowing from gate to substrate. You don't want the gate to substrate. There should not be any current, right? So you want that, if you want to avoid the leakage current, and leakage usually happen when you apply higher voltage at the gate, then there could be possibility of FN tunneling or different kind of tunneling. So leakage may happen. So what you want to assure is that whatever the gate dielectric you choose that it is giving you a good band offset with the ZNO, at least greater than 1 electron volt to minimize the carrier injection. So all these properties together can decide the choice of dielectric. So you can see in typical interface. So whatever the dielectric, high K, I'm putting the contender could be Le2O3, it could be HFO2, it could be ZrO2. Almost all have the dielectric constant between 10 to 30, 20 to 30. This is the typical value of dielectric constant. Any of the gate dielectric you can use. You can also use the SiO2, you can also use the Si3N4 silicon nitrate. But the problem with the SiO2 is specifically if you use a very low K dielectric, then what happens? The threshold voltage is very high. The threshold voltage of the TFT is very high. So in order to bring down this threshold voltage, means you might see in the earlier the adapter with your laptops comes with almost 18 volt rating. Like the laptops and other thing gadgets were, the displays were active because the microprocessor within the laptop, it doesn't need the 18 volt. It might be working in 3 volt, it might be working in 2 volt, it might be working in 1 volt. It was the displays who needs higher voltage because their threshold voltage was higher. The underlying TFTs, the threshold voltage was higher. But nowadays you can clearly have the TFTs which are having a threshold voltage of 1 to 2 volt or 1 to 3 volt, right? So these TFTs are not based upon the silicon dioxide. Technically, they are with the high K dielectric only. With the high K dielectric, you can basically have better coupling between gate and semiconductor, and hence you can bring down the threshold voltage. If you can bring down the threshold voltage, slowly the adapter rating will change. Like instead of 18 volt, you might be having a lesser rating, and it is still your laptop is working very fine, right? The different contender you can choose, and you can decide a gate dielectric. So that is one of the major challenge. You need to find it out what gate dielectric is best. The second thing with talking about a TFT is basically here a semiconductor layer is deposited. You are not having a single crystal silicon, unlike a MOSFET where you have a silicon substrate, which is single crystal, But can you have in the TFT? You can also have in the TFT, but the problem is basically these single crystal wafers are very, very expensive. They are very expensive. But what you have here, you have a basically plastic substrate, which is very cheaper, right? But this plastic substrate only provides the mechanical support. It is only for mechanical support. Now you need to first have a gate dielectric. After having the gate dielectric, you need to put the dielectric. Maybe you need to put the dielectric, right? Then you need to put the ZNO. Putting the ZNO means you need to deposit all these things, and all these things you are depositing at the room temperature. If you are getting these things deposited at the room temperature, ZNO definitely can be in the single crystalline form, but this is not going to be the single crystalline. Rather, if you are depositing, it will be either amorphous or polycrystalline. The form will be either amorphous or polycrystalline. Right? It is the form which will be either amorphous or polycrystalline. So what happened? You can clearly see this is one of the 100 nanometer thick ZNO film SAM image, which we did it during our experimentation. You can see within there are the grains. Within the grains, the structure is single crystalline, and after the grains, you have these are the grain boundaries. Grain boundaries are basically you can see that you are roaming in the highway, and the highway is such that within every 500 meter distance, there is a big speed breaker. Then there are two guys. One guy is going very slowly within the highway, and another guy is going very fast within the highway. Right? Technically, when they cross the breaker, again they come in the same time, because the breaker decides. It's not the highway which is deciding the speed. It is the breaker. Or in our case, it is the grain boundary which is deciding which will come first. You might be knowing the mobility in a semiconductor is harmonic mean. Harmonic means mu of grain boundary plus mu of grain. As I said, the mobility within the grain will be as good as the silicon, because grains means almost single crystal silicon. Let's say a mu grain is 1 upon 1000. The 1000 centimeters square per volt second is very good mobility, but within the grain boundary, the mobility is only 2. So what will be its equivalent? What will be its equivalent? 2 or 1000? When you are taking the harmonic mean of two quantity, one is very high, one is very low, which will dominate? 2 or 1000? A lower will dominate, right? Right or not? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So a lower will dominate, hence effective mobility cut down to 2 only. Though they have the grains, but grains are okay. I am the grain, I can walk very slow, but I have a guy which is walking very, very slowly. The grain, going through these grain boundaries is taking much of time, and that is basically deciding that is detrimental. That is something which is deciding the mobility, because it is not the grain. So you can clearly see the biggest challenge with the TFT technology is the low electron mobility. It was not challenge earlier, because earlier your demand was very less. You were having the displays where it is not supposed to be SD, but now it is supposed to be SD. So hence the frame per second rate has changed, like it has increased. Now you need higher mobility. So here comes what should be the solution of that, and that is what I define, that especially the TFTs, any kind of TFT is very interesting application of disordered semiconductor. When I say disordered semiconductor, I mean amorphous silicon or polycrystalline silicon, right? So these are the interesting applications of disordered semiconductor. Yes, there are various ways we can basically tackle the demand of the low electron mobility. We will be talking maybe as a part of other lecture, but this is the key fundamental challenge. The second thing in TFT is basically, when you talk about the silicon-based transistor, silicon or MOSFET, the best thing is basically they are very durable, and their VT, their threshold voltage is always fixed. VT doesn't change. They goes through number of testing. You do NBTS, you do the PBTS, you will find it out. Their VT doesn't shift. The VT is very stable. But here in thin film transistor technology, as I said, the interface is new. You are making a ZNO with a gate dielectric. Let's say I'm giving you, let's say, gate dielectric with my BST. BST does have very high value of dielectric constant, and this is the ZNO. You can clearly see ZNO film here as the conduction band and Fermi levels are coming closer to each other. So it is in accumulation mode. This TFT is in accumulation mode. You can see these bands are going down. Here the bands are also going down. There will be number of mechanism which will be happening here, because the interface is relatively new. ZNO BST interface is new. There will be few amount of interface traps present here. These are the interface traps. No, not only the interface traps, within the gate dielectric, which is BST, you can see there these green colors are traps. There will be few traps within the gate dielectric also. And also there will be some leakage due to the FN tunneling. Electron is going here, they are encountering this field, and because of that they are tunneling, right? They are tunneling. So there will be lots of factors which basically contribute to electrical instability, and due to the electrical instability, what will happen? You know that what is the current in MOSFET in saturation region? Current in MOSFET is mu n COX W by L by 2 VGS minus VT whole square. If VT changes with time, what will happen to this current? If VT changes with time, what will happen to the current? This current will also change. Now, imagine the scenario, you are having a screen, and for initial few days, the screen was absolutely working fine, but slowly, the TFTs which were driving that OLEDs, now their VT is increasing. If their VT will increase, what will happen to the current going through the OLED? If the VT increases, then what will happen to ISAT? If VT increases, then ISAT will decrease. Yes or no? If you increase the threshold, if somehow the threshold voltage gets increased, what will happen? The OLED current decrease. If the OLED current decrease, the intensity of that particular pixel will be blurred. Now slowly, you will find it out. A pixel which was on pixel now has become a dark pixel. So that basically decide your lifetime of a display. If a display is supposed to work for, let's say, 1,000 hours, then it will work only 1,000 hours, because after that you will find it out if the VT, because the TFTs, the VT is changing after VT has really increased from a particular amount, you will find it out that particular pixel will become black. right? Because the OLED current is not available. So that is a major challenge. We do our best at the device level in order to minimize the VT instability. We would like to make the VT as stable as possible, as fixed as possible. We would like to minimize this delta VT, but delta VT in all kind of TFT will be available. So some of the solutions are available at the device level. You basically try to make these all the dangling bond to be satisfied. You try to make a very high quality deposition of the dielectric, everything you do, but still there will be something like where you will find it out there is VT variation exists. So at the circuit level, we try to capture that VT variation and then make a circuit in such a way that the current becomes independent of the threshold voltage. That is what I say pixel driven circuitry with threshold voltage compensation, which we will be discussing again. So you can see if I am applying gate, this is the gate stress voltage. If I apply more stress voltage, you can see there is a higher change in delta VT with respect to stress time. How long we apply this particular stress voltage, you can clearly see. For example, here for VST equal to 25 volt, you can clearly see this particular point. For a stress voltage, for a stress time of 1000 seconds, the VT changes by almost 3.5. So this is what does electrical instability mean and how dangerous it could be for your displays. I'm not going this fabrication part. How much time we are left?
Yes, sir. 5 to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. So what I will directly go. I'm skipping all the other modeling part. I will directly go to the application because application will be somewhere you can relate it, right? Yeah. So what happens is basically when you are making, so as I said, you have a TFT. This TFT could be made of various different material. It could be amorphous silicon, it could be polysilicon, it could be ZNO TFT, okay? It could be organic TFT as well, okay? But all kind of TFT will have a VT shift. And due to VT shift, their current, OLED current will face always some error. There will be OLED current error. As a design engineer, what you need to do, you know that there will be some VT shift due to the various several regions as I cited here. You need to somehow make the circuits in such a way that it can, if I have a current, I OLED is equal to this much, half mu n COX W by L VGS minus VT whole square. I need to make this current independent of, I want to make this current independent of VT. I don't want this current to be a function of VT, right? So what I will do, I will try this VGS to capture VT. I would try this VGS to become alpha times some voltage, which could be V data plus VT. If this VGS itself becomes alpha times V data plus VT, what will happen? This VT and this VT will cancel out, and what will happen? Your IOLED will become independent of VT, theoretically, right or not? If I can capture this VT itself within the VGS, gate to source voltage, then this will be alpha V data plus VT, and VT will cancel out, and hence your OLED current becomes independent of the VT. That particular approach is known as voltage program circuit. Voltage program pixel circuit, right? So you try, so there are various variations of these voltage program pixel circuits are available. One of such work we recently published is basically here. You can see this T5 is a diode connected transistor when T4 is on. If the T4 is on, this T5 becomes a diode connected transistor, and if you have a diode connected transistor, you know how long it will be turned on, will be totally defined. It will be turned on when VGS is greater than VT, right? When gate to source voltage is greater than VT. So as soon as this voltage becomes less than VT, this transistor will be turned off. So that basically used in order to that particular thing you use this information, you capture this effect in this capacitor C2 and make this VGS independent of VT. That way you work in different phases. This is a typical layout of the same. You can see in the pixel circuit, this is the OLED which is taking a big area, and this is your rest of the area of the circuits. So this is also very crucial information. OLED divided by net area is basically tell you the aperture ratio. This aperture ratio need to be very high. right? You don't want this aperture ratio to be less, because if this aperture ratio is almost close to 80% or something, then the pixel density will be much better. So aperture ratio is again a key parameter when you talk about the pixel circuits. Okay, you can clearly see here, you basically here you have a V data as a signal. You can clearly see here you have a V data as a signal. V1, V2, V3, all these are the programmable voltage. These are the programmable voltage. Okay, so you adjust the value such that these there you have a different phase, but you finally you do have one phase which is known as the emission phase. This is the emission phase. Emission phase. In emission phase only OLED, in emission phase only you get the current in OLED, right? In emission phase only you basically get the current in OLED. This is the IOLED. You can clearly see in emission phase, this VGS minus VT is constant, irrespective of different value of VTH. Can you see? The VTH is varying from 0.35 to 0.65, but at the emission phase, this VGS minus VT is independent of VT. Hence current, OLED current will become constant, right? IOLED will become constant. So that is the fundamental principle we basically use it. Okay. Similarly, you can also work in the modeling part, how to define the threshold voltage, because when it is inversion mode transistors or MOSFET, you basically define a threshold voltage to be that particular gate voltage at which the current conduction possible, or at which the surface potential, at which the channel becomes inverted, right? A gate to voltage at which the channel becomes almost inverted, or you can see when the surface potential becomes twice of the bulk potential. You can clear cut define the threshold voltage in case of MOSFET. But here in our case, these are the accumulation mode devices. The source, drain, channel, all are basically of similar material. All are, let's say, n-type. Then what happens is basically you define any voltage which will be greater than flat bed voltage, technically should be your threshold voltage. If you apply any voltage greater than the flat bed voltage, okay, VT equals VFB should be your threshold voltage. But what is the problem? As I said, in the due to the presence of grains and grain boundaries, though for VT equal to VFB, which is equal to metal semiconductor work function difference, the transistor should turn on, but it never happens. Why? Because the grain boundaries basically takes away the nearby carriers. They acts like a trap of the carrier. Hence, what happens? There is a potential barrier. Then, hence, there is a potential barrier, and the carrier gets trapped. So, number of the free carrier concentration gets decreased. So, you need to find out a surface potential at which you can see the free carriers are increasing rapidly. That particular potential you can define as a surface potential, and in order to achieve this surface potential value, whatever the value of VGS is needed can be defined as the VT. So that is, you can always define a very interesting problem if you want to work on. You can always think of how to find out the threshold voltage of accumulation mode TFTs physically. You can clearly see, as I was saying, you can see this is the AMOLED display. So you can see stop emissive. This is the OLED array. RGB, this is RGB pattern, and you can clearly see these are the basically you have here pixel circuit. Okay, so these are the pixel circuit, array of pixel circuit. It is basically giving the current to the OLED, and the OLED is basically emitting here, and this entire array is transparent, transparent electrode. It could be ITO, indium tin oxide. This is the transparent electrode. This is how it looks like, and you can make the circuits. You can do the cross-bending simulation. Some of the recent addition, we started working with the flexible substrate. We find it out what is the variation of with respect to compressive and tensile strain in the substrate. What could be the change in the OLED current? All these things you can work it out. These are the very interesting applications. Apart from that, you can also work how to find out the interface states. That can be a very simple experiment using MIU, metal insulator semiconductor stack you can make, and you can find it out what is the instability. You can clearly see here the forward bias and reverse bias. You can see there is a hysteresis that gives you a delta VT, and that delta VT will impact the ID versus VGS characteristic in that way. Okay. Now coming to the part acknowledgement, I really thanks to all my collaborators from BITS Pilani, from Siri Pilani, as well as from Tezpur universities, the lab staff of IIIT Allahabad, my PhD scholars, my PG students, all who are basically actively contributing in the area of pixel circuits, in the area of pixel technology, like the TFT technologies. So I really do appreciate their contributions. Okay. And these are few references. Thank you. So I think now the forum is open for the question and answers. So you may take it up.
Yeah, I will request the audience to raise their hand if there is any question. Although Dr. Kavindra has explained all the things very nicely and very interesting area to work on. Those who wish to ask any question may raise their hand. Yes, Vikrant, please ask your question.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, how we can implement this in our student life as we all are students, that how we can implement all these things in our life, in students' life, sir, mainly.
And you are undergraduate student?
Sorry, sir.
You are undergraduate student?
Yes, sir.
So what are the courses you are having nowadays?
So I'm in electrical branch.
You are in electrical
Electrical.
branch. So have you done these things, microelectronic circuit?
Yes, sir.
So in the process, have you learned the spice? And maybe any kind of P spice or
Yes,
any
sir.
tool?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So spice
So
tool
what
we have.
So what you can do is basically right now you focus mostly on the MOSFET based circuit design, because even if you look for the TFTs, I'm dealing them as if they are a MOSFET only. When you model it, when you work with the circuitry part, another thing. Right now you might not be having the library or adapted models available, but at the same time, if you are making a pixel driver circuitry or any kind of image CMOS image sensors or any kind of thing using conventional transistors, you try to make all these things with the conventional transistors. If you would like to enrich yourself in these particular area, which is a display electronics or analog digital VLSI design or anything, you need to slowly build up. You basically start with the microelectronics, try to do the experiments with the spice, but instead of blindly going with the simulation tool, you should be knowing the bit of theory. Then you make your circuits, then you check the response, then slowly after microelectronics you can take a particular course as a part of your elective in the VLSI. And after taking the VLSI, and if you are able to find out a complete spectrum, means you have worked with the good tools and you have good understanding, you can directly join the industry, or you can think of pursuing your masters in this particular area of the VLSI design. And pixel driver circuitry, another thing, is a part of that. It is a basically a large area application, means you have a huge displays. So instead of small wafer, you basically deposit everything in a large scale. In fact, within the India, we do most of the groups of works with the design, simulations, and the layout part. We don't have, that we don't have that kind of foundries available. We do have only one foundry here as a CL180. That too is strategic applications, right? But that way you can explore. And once you join the industry, then based upon your profile, you can always excel. Is that okay, Vikhyat?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Whatever you have, you just make a value of that. Like if you whatever you have learned, it should not be always textbook kind. Like you learned, you cleared the exam, then you went with the next semester. It is not going to be a motivation should be, if you find an interest with the circuits, if you are finding your interest with the computer architecture, if you are finding with interest with something, explore more and more, try to do some hands-on. There are lots of things which are open source available. For example, if you want to do the spice, there is LT spice which is openly available, there is AM spice which is available. You can always make the circuit. If you want to work with the architecture, then lots of like model sim students version is available. You can do within the Verilog. You can think of different architectures. You try to defining in the structural level modeling. That way, whatever the dimensions you can explore, you explore it. And then later on, if you there are various modes you can think of doing masters from India, masters from abroad, or you can think directly joining the industry, then take a break, then go to the academics. That way you can think of. Okay, Vikyat?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, one announcement, there is a feedback form available in the chat box. I will request all of you to please fill that feedback form. And if any more questions from the audience?
Sir, we don't have access to chat.
Is it not available?
No, sir.
Okay, I will make it available to everyone. Is there any more question? Manya? Yes, Mr. Saurabh.
Yes, sir. Sir, how can we enhance the mobility of the TFT?
That is a very good question. Just give me a minute. First thing we need to see how to, when this question is basically is how to enhance the mobility. If you are making a thin film transistor, let's say from the single crystal silicon or single crystal any semiconductor, you are expecting a higher mobility, right? You are not getting a good mobility because of the polycrystalline nature of the thin film or because of the amorphous nature. The fundamental principle, if you look for the higher mobility, is that no to the grain boundary. Somehow, if it is a polycrystalline deposited film, you need to, if you are working in the fab lab, then the fundamental task is that whatever the grain boundaries are there, you basically passivate those bonding. And there are lots of chemical treatment which could be available, and you can think of having a film of very high quality. Apart from that, you can think of having heterostructures. You can think of, like, because if you dope it heavily with the indium gallium or something, you will find it out higher doping means there will be more scattering. If there will be more scattering, then what will happen? Again, the mobility will reduce. So you can think of HAMT kind of structure. You can think of heterostructure where another layer basically is giving the electrons to the ZNO, and you can think of increasing the mobility. There could be various ways. But at this moment, definitely all kind of, be it any kind of TFTs, their mobilities are big constant. Recently, I was reading some paper from the Peking University. They have reported a mobility up to 360 centimeters square per volt second. Though after that, I couldn't see some other detail. I couldn't follow it up, but that is possible. But you need to passivate those grain boundaries. Have I answered your question, Mr. Saurabh?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any more question? Okay, you can also mail your questions. We will forward your doubts to Dr. Kavindra, and he will respond you.
Sure.
Manya?
Yes, sir.
Manya?
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for such an informative session. I would like to thank everyone present here for giving their valuable time. May I now request our esteemed professor, Dr. Kamlesh Kumar Singh, sir, for the vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you, Manya. And thank you very much, Dr. Kavindra, for this wonderful talk, a very informative talk, opening new areas of research to the undergraduate and postgraduate students. You have talked about the voltage programmed compensatory pixel circuits, and it is really a good area where they can explore more and work ahead. Thank you. You have really talked nicely on why we should prefer JRNO-based TFTs and how lifetime of display can be calculated. It was really interesting. So thank you, Dr. Kavindra, very much for this talk, for sparing a precious time.
Thank you,
I would
Dr.
also, thank you, sir. I would also like to thank Professor Varun Kakar, the chair, Young Professional Committee, UP section, for providing us the platform to organize this kind of lecture series. My teammates from Young Professional Committee, especially, I would like to thank all the students of ASET, the team of IEEE AUP Lucknow campus student branch, faculty members from different engineering colleges, faculty members from and Pro-VC, Wing Commander Anil Kumarji, for motivating all of us to organize kind of lectures and to benefit all the students. who are working in this area or who wish to work in this particular area. So it was a really nice talk. Tomorrow again we will be meeting for the first and the last talk of this technical lecture series at the same time from 11 to 12. And it will be another interesting talk on signal processing to monitor the health of the machines through signal processing. With this word, I would like to request all of you to please switch on your camera so that we can have a photograph, a get-together photograph for this lecture also. Yes, all of camera. Manya, you can take a few snapshots. Dr. Sumit is also there. Thank you very much, sir.
Good afternoon to all.
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Dr. Kavin. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you for valuable talk in this session.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.